I failed!
Charge him or release him.
He's charged.
And the colonel?
Either you've got a lawyer or a commanding officer.
There, you're no longer needed.
I've got news for you, Colonel. These are civvies I'm wearing, not a uniform.
I think we got a little blackmail going here. Take a look at that. X-rated, right?
If that film had never existed, my son wouldn't have killed anybody.
Things don't cause homicides, people do.
I've been waiting here, baby. 2 hours.
Hang in there, honey. I just hit pay dirt. It's going to be worth the wait. Hold it. I think somebody's in the studio. Hang on.
Hold it. Police officer. I said freeze. Now close that drawer. Come around here slowly. Turn around. Hands on the wall. Okay, where is it?
What?
Where's the gun?
Glenn, I don't have a gun.
Put the cuffs on him. If you don't have a gun, how come this guy's got a bullet in him?
You told me you were going to get brand new tires, that those were going bald.
You have to remind me, huh?
That's what you paid me for.
Yeah, I know.
Here, let me have your coat. Hey! Pete.
I thought you were gonna put new tires on this thing.
Oh, I'll get it.
I got that file on Mr. Anderson. Turned out he isn't a missing person after all. Yeah. You want to do me a favor, Pete? Why don't you get that spare tire, roll it over here, huh? You bet. You think you ought to be changing tires in those new clothes?
Honey?
Yeah?
That was a Colonel William Fletcher Sr.
Yeah?
It's an emergency.
Huh?
He'd like you to meet him at the police station as soon as possible, please.
Whose police is that, his or yours?
An afterthought, it was his.
Anything else?
Well, he said there'd been a shooting, his son's in jail, and to hurry.
Okay, hey, Pete, do me a favor, will you? You finish this up and let me borrow your pickup.
Yeah, I guess so.
Here.
Okay, thanks.
See you later.
Okay. Oh, Pete, you know anybody who sells tires?
You bet.
Okay, great. Then get a set for me, huh?
You bet. What do I use for money?
Can't hear you.
Tony, what do I use for money?
I still can't hear you.
What did he say?
Find a tire dealer that needs a lawyer.
No gas, no tires, no nothing. Listen, my advice is to pay the fine. It's cheaper than hiring a lawyer, even me. And thanks for the ride.
Petrocelli?
Yeah, are you Fletcher?
I expected you sooner. I said it was urgent.
I just got off the milk run. What about the shooting now?
Happened last night. I've been holding my son all night. I haven't been able to get through to him. That's why I called you.
Don't you have lawyers? I mean, you are the Petrocelli company, aren't you?
Of course I am. But my men deal in corporate law. I need a criminal attorney. They recommended you.
Well, they know talent. Now, who was shot?
Somebody named Onslow, photographer. I never heard of him. I'm sure Billy never did either.
And why is he being held?
That's what I'm trying to find out. So far, I haven't been allowed to talk to him.
Mr. Fletcher.
Colonel Fletcher, Corps of Engineers, retired.
What's the condition of the victim?
He's dead.
It looks like you're not going to have much of a chance to see your son for a while.
And that's the first priority.
Well, why?
He's not very forceful. I don't think he can stand up to it.
Well, according to the police, he stood up to killing a man.
I'll believe that when I hear him say so.
Okay, I'll see what I can find out, then I'll get back to you.
Petrocelli, tell him to say nothing. Press that on him. He's not to say anything until I've had a chance to talk to him.
That's my line.
Leave me alone. I have been talking all night. I've got nothing more to say.
Just relax now. I'm not a cop. I happen to be a lawyer. My name is Petrocelli.
Did he send you? The colonel?
Yeah.
Well, it takes care of everything, doesn't it? The Army has the situation under control.
I'm not in his army.
Doesn't he know what I did tonight?
He may have. He may not have. Why don't you give me an instant replay?
I committed the cardinal sin. I disobeyed orders. It's a court-martial offense, you know. Were you in the Army, Mr.
Petrocelli?
Yeah, well, I was, too. I sure was. Personally drafted by my own father. Even served under him. But I wasn't as good as he was, you see. I wasn't made for the Army, so he thinks I failed. And that's the crime. If you can bring it off, you can get away with anything. But I failed! I failed! I failed!
Take it easy, kid.
And in a strange way, you were happy about it, weren't you? It proved again that you were a better man. But why am I in competition with you? You're my father! Listen to me, Billy. Be like me, Billy.
Get it back.
Do like me.
the authority.
You get the authority here. Have a section
Listen,
in your hands.
Billy.
Get it
Listen
back.
to me, Billy. Stop it, Billy. No, Billy. Yes, Billy. Listen to me, Billy. Be like your father, Billy. Be like me. Be like your father!
Dr. Hunter, please call 351.
He'll be all right now.
What was it, Doc?
Delayed shock. He must have suffered a traumatic experience last night.
Is it okay to talk to him now?
Sure, as long as he stays awake.
Okay, thanks. Billy? Billy, I'm...
Anthony Petrocelli. I know. Sorry about all the trouble.
No sweat.
It was strange. I was standing off looking at myself flip out. I couldn't stop.
How do you feel now?
A little drowsy, that's all.
Look, Billy, I'm gonna let you go right back to sleep. But I just want to know what happened with Tom Onslow.
Was that his name?
You mean you never heard of him before?
No. Heard from him. Two telephone calls. Once by mail. Never gave me his name, though. Of course, they never usually do they?
Billy. Billy. Who never gave you his name?
Blackmailers.
He was trying to blackmail you? Well, for what?
For what? For $30,000. Mr. Petrocelli, you know how much money I make a month? $550. He didn't even bother asking me. He went straight to the colonel. He knew. He knew he had all the bread.
Billy, I want you to try to start from the beginning and tell me everything.
Well, the colonel was the one who was putting up all the money. So he was the one who came up with the campaign. And he was in his glory. The instructions were to drive 11 miles out the old post road. Leave the money at one of those high-tension pylons. The colonel had his strategy all mapped out. And it was a plan worthy of his combat days. Combining the best tactics and logistical sense. My part of the mission was to hide with my cycle and wait for whoever picked up that package. Then I was to follow him, find out who he was and where he could be found. I don't know what the colonel intended to do after that, Mr. Petrocelli. The common foot soldier is never told what secret strategy the high command has in mind. The troops are just supposed to follow orders, and that's exactly what I did. The colonel left the money on the pylon, reconnoitered the area, and pulled away. I lay there in the brush for nearly an hour. It was cold, the ground was hard, but he finally came. Everything was going according to plan. In an odd way, I had to admire the colonel's strategy. I remember when I was a kid, he used to tell me stories about his old campaigns. Night maneuvers were his favorite. Catch the enemy by surprise and then pounce on him. Anyway, I followed the man into town and he stopped at a building on Pima Street. I was right behind, following at what the colonel would call a discreet distance. He went inside and upstairs to a second-floor office. I saw the light go on inside. Mission accomplished. That's all I was supposed to do. Follow him, find out who he was, then call the colonel. Don't ask me why I disobeyed orders. I'd have to tell you the story of my life. Well, I went up to the office. It was a photographer's studio. Kind of a seedy place. Didn't look like the guy was too successful. Anyway, I went into the office, but nobody seemed to be there. The lights were on, so I checked further and went into the studio. And there he was.
He was already dead? Is that what you're saying, Billy? Billy.
Mr. Petrocelli?
Yeah?
I'm Billy's wife.
Well, how do you do?
Where is he? Can I see him?
I'm afraid not right now, no.
What happened? I don't understand.
Well, your husband's been accused of shooting a man to death.
Mr. Petrocelli. Yeah. Renata, what are you doing here?
Well, besides him being your son, he also happens to be my husband.
Well, what's the situation?
I got him a doctor.
Did you give him my instructions?
I gave him my instructions. He's being sedated for the next 8 to 10 hours.
That's good thinking.
No, it's not my thinking. You see, your kid's flipped out. We had to do something for him.
There was no need for you to come down here. I'll handle everything.
You always do, don't you? If you were to just leave him alone.
Renata, don't forget who you're talking to. How'd you get here?
I took a cab.
Well, I'll drive you home. Wait outside. Did my son tell you anything about what happened?
Yeah, about the blackmail.
About the blackmail?
$30,000 worth. And he said you raised the money for him.
He really did flip out, didn't he? Look here, Petrocelli, I want to talk to the boy as soon as he wakes up.
Well, you better stand in line, because as soon as he wakes up, he's going to be interrogated.
You have the right to be there, don't you?
That's what my law degree says, yeah. Now, what about that blackmail?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Something you want here?
Well, yeah, I came to pick up my graduation pictures.
Well, the studio's closed.
Ah, come on now, Granger. Give a starving lawyer a break.
Lieutenant, it's Petrocelli. Hello, Petrocelli.
Petrocelli. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, this must be a biggie to have you involved, Bonds.
Well, shoot, it's all the same to me. Except, of course, they are more interested when you're around.
Still have a love affair, huh? Look, all I want to do is see the scene of the crime.
Oh, shucks, I'd like to let you know that, but we ain't finished here yet ourselves.
Oh, come on, I'm not going to mess anything up in here.
Well, shoot fire, I know that. But we got rules.
Rules.
Excuse me just a minute. Hello? Yes, ma'am. It's your wife, Petrocelli. Now, hold it right there. Just hold it right there.
Tell her I'll call her back.
Miss Petrocelli, he said tell you he'd call you back. It's what? Petrocelli, yes, ma'am. Uh-huh. I'll certainly do it. You're very welcome. Yes, ma'am. She sure is touchy about that name.
Yeah, it runs in the family.
Well, she said tell you that Pete called, and he wants you to meet him at the Desert Sand Motel. You know where that is?
Yeah, I think I can find it. Oh, and thanks for taking my calls. I'm gonna give you more of my business.
Tony! Tony!
I got over to branch office up over here.
Welcome to Pete's Pleasure Palace. Tony, I want you to meet Mac. He's a bartender at the Red Umbrella. He's the one I called the police.
What time was the shooting?
Onslow was shot at 9:25.
Back?
Mac?
Yeah.
Well, how do you know?
Heard the shot over the phone. Well, a customer heard it. Called the cops.
The complaint board logged an anonymous call about that time, 9:25.
Anonymous?
Yeah, until I opened my big kazoo. Had cops all over me ever since.
A lady made that call. Isabel Clark, by name.
Yeah, well, who's she?
Mac?
Isabel's a regular at the bar. Comes in 3 nights a week. Some more, some less.
And Onslow?
Yeah, they used to meet there.
Isabel Clark's husband is a trucker. He makes that Phoenix run 3 times a week. Some more, some less. Thanks, Mac.
Yeah, thanks, Mac. Hey, check this guy Clark out, would you? I mean, I want to check him out of San Remo and into Phoenix. I want to verify his time of arrival, time of departure, and the scheduled running time, okay? How you doing with the tires?
Maggie's working on it.
Yeah? Did you find your pickup?
Yeah.
Okay, from now on, use your gas money for gas, not beer, will you? Every time I hit your ride, it costs me $50 worth of advice.
Now, Miss Florence, head this up. Interrogation by Lieutenant John Ponce. Now, would you give us your name, your address, and your occupation?
William Fletcher, Jr., 1007 Locust Drive, San Remo. I'm a field supervisor with Petroleum Products. My father owns the company.
Miss Florence will tell you if you're going too fast.
Yesterday, I spent most of the day at Rossiter Ranch. It was an equipment breakdown on the job, and I worked until it got dark. I guess it was about 9 o'clock when I rode my motorcycle back into town. I had missed breakfast and lunch, so I stopped at a phone to call my wife and ask her to get a meal started.
Where did you call from?
A phone. A phone booth on a corner.
Was this phone booth on Pima Street?
I guess so. I really don't remember. Anyway, after I hung up, I heard a shot. At least I thought it was a shot. And there was nobody around except there was a light on in a second-floor window across the street. So I went over there to see if there was anything wrong.
Well, now, let me get this straight. You heard a shot. You were standing by a phone, but you didn't call the authorities. You just went to check it out your own self.
Yes, that's right.
Well, that's mighty courageous of you, Mr. Fletcher. But it don't say too much for your smarts.
No, you see, that's just the thing. I wasn't sure it was a shot. It could have been something else. Anyway, I got across the street. I went upstairs. It turned out to be a photographer's studio. And there was a man lying on the floor bleeding.
Why were you searching the room?
Searching the room?
Tearing it apart.
I don't remember that.
Look, I believe that completes my client's statement. Now, if there are no further questions, I'd like to have him released.
I'll just bet you would.
Charge him or release him?
He's charged. Suspicion of murder.
What are you trying to do, Billy?
What?
Those rewrites. That crock of lies you just reeled off to me.
To the best of my recollection.
To the best of your Somebody really briefed you, didn't they? That's a good performance, but there's no Oscar there. Now, somebody wrote those words for you.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
The Colonel did it, didn't he? Come on, kid, you don't have that sort of mind. The Colonel got you, and I want to know how.
He showed up with a doctor claiming the police had used drugs on me.
Dude, that's not gonna stand up. Let me tell you something, kid. You can hold back some of the truth. You can color it to look a little better. But when you get something that's 100% lie, when you match that with the facts, it collapses. You've got one place to go, kid, and that's the slammer.
And what do you think I should do?
I'll tell you what you should do. You're gonna make another statement.
The truth.
The truth. Innocent or guilty, the truth.
And the Colonel?
Billy, you've got no other choice. Either you've got a lawyer or a commanding officer.
Colonel Fletcher? Mr. Petrocelli?
I just talked to Billy. You know what his statement was. What are you trying to do to him?
Not to him, for him. Whatever he said to you last night is inoperative. He was in shock, heavily sedated.
Now, don't pull that on me. Last night he told me the truth. Now, why are you trying to change it?
I'm doing what I have to do for my son.
What means more to you? Your son's life or hiding the fact that you're being blackmailed? Do you want to see him convicted or do you want it to come out?
It won't come out. I guarantee you that.
That happens to be his defense.
Only if you're his lawyer. Last night you served a purpose. Today you're no longer needed. Send me a bill for your services.
Wrong, Colonel. I'm here to stay.
Now hear me, good Petrocelli. I'm a man of considerable power. I will do what I have to do. If that includes running over you, I will do it.
I've got news for you, Colonel. These are civvies I'm wearing, not a uniform.
How's your diet, Lieutenant?
Gotta keep up my strength.
Well, outside of your weight problem, is there something you wanted to see me about? Except, of course, having company for lunch.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about your client.
My favorite subject.
Well, to begin with, suppose we both forget that little turkey trot he played for me yesterday.
Well, what would you substitute, Lieutenant?
Facts.
Speculation.
Facts. See, what your client don't understand is he wasn't the only one on Pima Street that night. There was a man, Reuben Clark. He was there at 8 p.m. Now, that's an hour and 15 minutes before the murder occurred. Now, at 9:05, according to Reuben's sworn testimony, a car driven by Tom Onslow drove up. Onslow was carrying a package. He went up to his studio. Almost immediately, another man arrived on a motorcycle. William Fletcher, Jr. Positive identification. In the office, Onslow was talking on the phone to a woman. Then Fletcher come busting in.
Onslow? What is this? Don't give me any of that. What are you trying to pull?
There was an argument. Fletcher must have wanted something pretty bad from Onslow. And then your boy shot him with his service .45. My boys got there to investigate, Billy Fletcher was doing some snooping of his own.
All right, hold it.
Well, there you have it, Petrocelli. That sounds a little bit more like the truth, don't it?
Oh, well, I wonder how it's going to sound to a jury. I mean, if it ever gets to one. A solid, respectable citizen walks in off the street, shoots a guy he never saw before, doesn't even know. Look, I know it's not necessary to have a motive in order to get a conviction. But under these circumstances, come on, Lieutenant, a little logic, huh?
You want a motive, huh? There just happens to be something I should show you. I'm sorry I don't have a larger projector, but I think you can make out what it is.
Wow. You could read my mind, you'd have me arrested.
X-rated, right? Compromising, right?
For Billy Fletcher? Well, you can't see any faces.
Faces are not usually what people look for in that kind of pictures. But there were some faces. And I had one of them blown up. Take a look at that. In case you don't recognize her, that's Renata Bauer Fletcher, Mrs. William Fletcher, Jr. I think we got a little blackmail going here. And if that ain't motive, Harvard man, I don't know what it is.
Mr. Petrocelli.
Mrs. Fletcher?
Come in, please.
Thanks.
Sit down, please. I was just cleaning. Is Billy all right?
No, as a matter of fact, he's not. He's in a lot of trouble. The police think they have a motive for the killing.
I don't understand.
Well, it seems that Onslow was blackmailing your husband or the colonel or both.
But what could he have done if he blackmailed?
No, it's not what he did. It was over a movie, a pornographic movie.
Oh, dear God. But it was so long ago.
How long?
5 years. Long before I ever met Billy. Look, I had come to Munich from the country. I was poor and I was looking for a job. Yes, I knew what it was, but I needed the money.
No, I know. Billy never knew.
How could I tell him? He was so proper, so good, and he thought the world of me. His tour of duty was almost over when we met. And then he asked me to marry him and come to America.
Look, Mrs. Fletcher, I'm not a judge of what you did or why you did it. I mean, that's none of my business, none of anybody else's business. But it is a terrific motive. Now, in a town like San Remo, it could be pretty embarrassing for a man like Colonel Fletcher.
Do you think I care about him? Just look around you and tell me if I should care.
Well, in any event, the colonel is not the one that's up in the murder charge.
No, but maybe it should be.
When we go to trial, we may need your testimony.
Whatever I must do, Mr. Petrocelli, I'll do.
Well, yeah, I'll be counting on that.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Oh, no, I'm sure we can work something out. Uh-huh. No, we will be in to see you. Uh-huh. Thank you. I have just solved all your problems.
Another kiss like that, you're gonna have some more problems.
That was a friend of Pete's. He owns a tire shop.
And?
And if you will handle his small lawsuit, we can get 4 brand new steel-belted radial-ply tires.
You know, I knew I married you for something.
Yeah.
Get over here.
Tony, do you know you've got another flat tire?
Oh, man. Honey, would you call Martin, see what he can do?
Right away. Hello?
Pete, what about that truck driver?
Well, he wasn't in Phoenix the night of the murder. You want to guess where he was?
Yeah, I guess his name is Reuben, and he was down on Pima Street checking to see if his wife was with Tom Onslow. That happens to be Ponce's mysterious eyewitness. There's one more thing, though. It's top priority. Fletcher.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's got a 16mm roll of film about so big, and I need it.
Well, why don't you ask him for it?
Because according to him, it doesn't exist.
No.
Hey, how about a lift out of the courthouse?
You bet.
Yeah, 878-15.
Oh, honey. That lawsuit against Martin, what's it for?
For selling defective tires. I'm sorry. 4. We need 4.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give and the matter now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name, please.
John Clifford Ponce, Lieutenant, San Remo Police Department.
Please be seated.
I show you this handgun, Lieutenant, and ask if you recognize it.
I do. It's an Army automatic.
Where was the gun found?
It was found on the floor of the studio.
Had it been fired recently?
Ballistically, we have established that this is the gun that killed Tom Onslow.
To whom is the gun registered, Lieutenant?
William Fletcher, Jr.
In addition to the murder weapon, did you find anything else in that studio that you would consider germane to your investigation?
Yes, we did. We found a length of movie film.
Would you examine this piece of film, Lieutenant, and tell me if it's the one you found?
Yes, it is. I put my mark on it.
Your Honor, this is State's Exhibit number 7. It runs less than 3 minutes, and with the court's permission, I'd like to project it onto a screen. But before that's done, due to the nature of the film, I move that the entire courtroom be cleared of everyone not directly involved with the trial.
Mr. Petrocelli, let me hear from you on this motion.
I have no objection, Your Honor.
Very well.
So ruled. Bailiff, will you clear the court, please?
Ladies and gentlemen, this way, please.
Can't you stop it?
No, I can't.
But it's my wife.
Billy, it's your life. that film you got in the mail. Now, that's the same one, isn't it?
I don't know. I didn't watch.
I wonder why they made 2 prints of the same footage.
You can't put Renato on the stand after that.
May have no choice. I didn't know your middle name was Clifford. Anyway, to uncover a small piece of film in the photographer's studio, you must have made a very thorough search, huh?
You bet we did.
Then you found the full-length version of the movie, of course.
No, we found one piece of film.
Ah, I see. And what about the package that the prosecution is working so hard to establish? Did you find that? You must have.
Well, we found a lot of packages, one kind or another.
Mm-hmm. Any of them contain any money? I mean, in a package about so big with brown paper wrapped around?
No.
Mm-hmm. Then there was no money in the studio, and the defendant didn't have any either, huh?
That's right.
And by the simple process of elimination, wouldn't you say that somebody else might have been there between the time that Onslow got back and Billy Fletcher arrived?
No, I wouldn't say that.
No further questions.
Your Honor, that completes the case for the people. We rest.
Witness is excused. Mr. Petrocelli, are you ready with the defense?
Yes, Your Honor, but because of the time, the defense asked that we recess until tomorrow morning.
Very well. Court is in recess until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
I want a word with you, Petrocelli.
Colonel, I'm sure any conversation we might have may turn out to be very productive.
I demand to know why you allowed that filth to be shown to that jury.
You demand? Only my father makes demands upon me, sir.
My son's life is at stake, and you refuse to talk to me about it. I pray to God America's law schools don't spawn many more like you.
Just a second, I beg your pardon. I see you want to talk about your son. Okay, that's fine. Your son's life, that's okay, but use the word filth. I assumed you wanted to talk about the movie in evidence.
Don't get smart with me. They're one and the same thing, and you know it. If that film had never existed, my son wouldn't have killed anybody.
You are wrong on 2 counts. 1, your son did not kill anybody. 2, the film itself did not cause anybody's death. Things don't cause homicides. People do.
That's brilliant. That's positively brilliant. Now, let me tell you something.
Now, let me tell you something. You want to talk about your son? Okay, fine. He fell in love with some girl and got married. You didn't approve of her. You never approved of her. So she married Fletcher's command, his one-man army that jumped to your orders, his own son.
Are you going to tell me that I was wrong to disapprove of her? You saw that film?
Big deal, so she appeared in the Stag film. Let me tell you something, Colonel. If you were hungry enough, you would have appeared in one, too.
If that pornography had circulated at parties at San Remo, do you know what that would have done to my reputation?
Your reputation, that's it, isn't it? It's always you first, isn't it, Colonel, huh? So you staged the campaign that ended in disaster, not for you, but for Tom Onslow. Just one more casualty. Now, is there something else you want to tell me, Colonel?
More, I can't see.
Hey, not without your parents' consent. What is this? Where'd you get it? Honey, what's the name of that professor of cinematography at the university?
Thomas, Dr. something or other Thomas.
Okay, would you get him for me?
Yeah.
Where did you find this?
It's better you don't ask. The less you know, the better off you are. That's some lady.
Just a moment. Dr. Thomas.
Okay. Hello, Dr. Thomas? How are you, sir? This is Anthony Petrocelli speaking. Yes, sir, I'm fine. I would like to ask you a favor. I wonder if I could come over and talk to you for a moment. Okay, fine, sir. I'll be right there. Thank you very much. Wow. May I? Call Renata Bauer Fletcher to the stand.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter now pending before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name, please.
Renata Bauer Fletcher.
Please be seated.
Mrs. Fletcher. Now, I don't want to expose you to any further humiliation, but there are some questions I must ask you.
It's all right, Mr. Petrocelli.
Now, when was that film made?
It was made in Munich, Germany.
Yeah, I understand, but when?
5 years ago, when I was 19.
And how many such films have you appeared in?
This one, no others.
Excuse me?
This one, no others.
Thank you, Mrs. Fletcher. No further questions. Cross-examine.
Mrs. Fletcher, the prospect of having such a film exhibited here in staid, respectable old San Remo would have been very embarrassing to you, wouldn't it?
No.
No? You had no objections to your friends seeing it?
I have no friends in San Remo.
Well, your relatives then, your husband and his father, they're local businessmen. It would have been very damaging to them, wouldn't it?
I suppose so.
Damaging enough to kill to suppress it, I suppose.
Objection. That's speculation on the part of the prosecution, Your Honor.
Sustained. Mr. Bapp?
No more questions.
Witness is excused.
The defense calls Dr. David Thomas.
State your name, please.
David Thomas, professor of cinematography, San Remo University.
Thank you. Dr. Thomas, are you acquainted with this film?
I am.
Is it made in America?
It is.
Is there anything unusual about the film?
Well, only that it's a reversal film. That is, there's no negative. Once processed, the film itself can be shown.
And how long has this particular film been in existence?
Well, this particular fast emulsion was developed 15 months ago.
15 months ago. Thank you. Now, with that additional information, I would like to present a more logical explanation of the homicide in question. Pima Street, all but deserted. All but deserted, except for Reuben Clark watching the studio, where Tom Onslow was talking on the phone to Isabel, Reuben's wife.
Hold it. I think somebody's in the studio. Hang on.
At which point he heard someone in the studio, and in going to check on it, met his murderer face to face.
I thought we were going to meet at the regular place.
I like to be home before my husband gets there. Give me the money.
Well, I haven't counted it yet. Maybe it's not all there.
Well, then you get 10% of whatever there is.
For all I've done. Financing the deal. Taking all the risks. Doing all the work. I think that's worth a lot more than 10%, don't you?
No.
You know, it occurred to me after I got there that your husband could have laid for me with a gun. I could have a hole in my head right this minute.
There was no danger of that. I had his gun. So no more talk about a larger share, or I may take it all.
That wouldn't be very smart, Mrs. Fletcher. I've still got the film, you know.
Well, enjoy yourself.
But suppose I was to tell somebody that film was shot right here in the studio. Not Munich. Last week. Not 5 years ago.
And whom would you tell?
Not your husband, baby. I'd go right to Colonel Fletcher.
She threw down her husband's gun and left the office carrying the package. She narrowly escaped running into her husband, who had just arrived and was coming up the stairs. As William Fletcher entered, she got out of the building unseen, using the fire exit door. Her car was parked nearby, and nobody saw her as she made her getaway with the $30,000. The money she thought would buy her escape from her father-in-law's control of her life. She came here expecting a new life, but instead found a life totally dominated by a father-in-law who kept him broke and dependent upon him. So she blackmailed him with an X-rated film that never existed. 100 feet of film for that purpose only.
I want to thank you. Everything. Thank you.
You're quite all right, Bill.
Hey, Billy! Billy! Oh, slow down, Billy. Come on, Billy. Let's go home and celebrate.
Celebrate what? My wife in jail for killing a man?
Wait a minute, Billy. That wasn't my fault.
Wasn't it?
All right, maybe I have been wrong. We can make it better. We'll move you up in the company. We'll make it better. I swear to you, Billy, I got something out of all that.
So did I. My discharge.
Okay, don't look.
Okay.
Keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
Almost there. And now, ta-da! Guaranteed for 40,000 miles.
Even with you driving. Okay, let's see how they handle, huh?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
Hey, we'll see you later.
Okie doke.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay.
How do you like that?
I see you, Dirty. Raggy.
Hey, Pete, who do you know that sells